Hello everyone, welcome to this week's video about walking in their shoes. This is about various people in the Bible and what they may have been like. So before I begin, Tina, do you notice a predominant color here?
Well, now that would be super hard to miss, wouldn't it? It's purple!
Correct! And would you like to tell everyone which person in the Bible we will be talking about today?
I would love to!
Oh, good.
Because she's one of my favorites.
Oh, yes.
We are introducing you today to Lydia, who was a seller of purple cloth. Now, her story is in Acts chapter 16, verses 13 to 15. Even though there are only a few verses written about her, Lydia's faith in Jesus was very important because she is the first person in Europe to become a Christian and is considered the doorway of Christian faith in Europe.
Wow. It is possible that Lydia was one of the people that established the ancient church in the town where she was from, Thyatira, in Asia, and in the city where she lived and worked in Philippi in Macedonia. So of course, we want to tell you about this great woman. As we each tell you her story, we're going to show you how to make Lydia shells, like this one. All you need is a paper plate, a purple crayon, like those, glue, and scissors, and some purple tissue paper.
And some colored paper. Let's begin just before the account of Lydia in the Bible. Paul the Apostle was on his second missionary journey to tell the good news about Jesus. He was staying in Troas in Asia Minor with his traveling companions Luke, Silas, and Timothy. One night, Paul had a vision of a man from Macedonia, which is in northern Greece, standing and pleading with him, "Come over to Macedonia and help us." Paul knew the vision was from the Lord, so they left for Macedonia the very next day. This would be the first missionary trip to Europe.
There you go.
I will take that.
All right,
I will
there
take
you
that,
go.
and I will take that.
Now, Paul and his company sailed west across the Aegean Sea and eventually traveled to a city called Philippi, where Lydia, a merchant of purple cloth, lived and worked. He and his friends had been in this city for some days, and on the Sabbath day, they went out of the city gate to the riverbank. It was here people gathered to pray because the city of Philippi didn't have enough Jewish teachers and elders to have a synagogue. Instead, they went to the river to worship. Most were women, and Lydia was one of them. Oh, very nice.
There, see? It was on that riverbank Lydia and her friends would pray, study the Old Testament laws from the scrolls, and talk about what they had read. God had a plan from the very beginning for Paul and Lydia to meet at the perfect time. Paul and his companions came to the river to pray, met the women at the riverbank, and he told them how much Jesus loves them. As Lydia listened to them, the Lord opened her heart and she accepted what Paul was saying. She believed Jesus with all her heart. She and her household were quickly baptized, and she asked them to be her guests. She told them, "If you agree that I am a true believer in the Lord, come and stay at my house." Paul and his traveling companions finally agreed after Lydia urged them.
Lydia opening her heart to Jesus reminds me of what Jesus said in John chapter 6, verse 44. He said, "For no one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws them to me." This story of Lydia in the Bible is a wonderful example of God's care for all of us. Lydia was a worshiper of God, but had not yet heard the gospel. God planned for Paul and his friends to meet Lydia in the right place at the right time to hear the gospel. And as Lydia heard the gospel, God opened her heart so that she received the life-giving message. What an incredible story!
There! Now I wrote Jesus loves you and put John 3:16 on it, and Mike put John 6:44 on this one. You may all wonder why we chose to make a shell craft. Lydia was a merchant who sold purple cloth. Purple cloth was very expensive. The reason for the cost was it was difficult to make. The dye for the cloth came from a certain shellfish. Purple dye had to be gathered drop by drop from the veins of this shellfish, which is found only in this area of the Mediterranean. The liquid was white when it was in the veins of the fish, but when it was exposed to the sun, it changed into bright purple and red colors. It took, listen to me, thousands of seashells to make a yard or two of cloth. It was hard work to catch enough shellfish to dye even one garment. The purple colors were a statement of status, power, and wealth in Roman times, and many rich and important people dressed in clothing trimmed in purple.
Wow, purple was a very
big deal
expensive color back then. This dye produced various hues of purple, such as like lavender, amethyst, lilac, mauve, periwinkle, oh, and my favorite, violet. But what a great story about Lydia. We hope you will all try making our Lydia shellcraft and remember how God opened her heart to Jesus like opening a seashell.
And God can open your heart still today like he did for people in the Bible years ago. Thanks for watching, everyone. And you forgot pink and plum and magenta and mulberry and orchid and puce